Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Call Halayim Le Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. And I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the Tabernacle of David. And I'm your brother Matazabath, and I wanted to just come up on here to do a quick little live going into some study tips and some books to help further your journey through this walk in this ministry. And I'm going to show you guys some different books and stuff that me and my wife have acquired recently this year and a couple of years ago since being in the truth. And just want to help brothers and sisters out there who are sincere, all right, so that it can actually help your studies. Now, evidently, we should all know the most read Bible in terms of the type of edition should be the King James Bible, all right? Now, the reason why, outside of all the other Bibles, is because the King James is the most, in terms of percentage wise, it's 90% accurate in terms of its translation from the Hebrew and from the Greek. That's the reason why we recommend the King James Bible. All right. Now, some people, just give me a second, just to show you something. Now, some people will argue and they'll say things like this Bible here, which is the NLT, New Living Translation. Now, the problem with the newer edition Bibles, for those of you who don't know, right, as I stated before, the King James is the most accurate translated out of the Hebrew and the Greek. That's why it's the most read Bible in the whole entire planet Earth, outside of other editions. And I'll show you why in a minute. But when you, let's take this out if I can. Salakia. I'm trying to do a couple multitask here, so please bear with me. All right. Now, just a little tip. When they try to sell you Bibles, all right, you're really not paying for the Bible. You're paying for the company that sells it. All right. That's the reason why a lot of revised versions cost a lot. All right. So just a tip. Now, one thing about the NLT, all right, as you can see, is, it's leathered. All right. New Living Translation, red letter from Tyndale. All right. Tyndale makes some pretty good, sturdy type of books. And this is a pretty basic one. All right. Standard 66 books from Genesis all the way until Revelation. Now, the only bad thing about is a lot of the newer edition Bibles, they don't include the 1611 King James Apocrypha. All right. So I want to quickly put that one aside, and I'm going to show you why the King James is the most accurate translation. I want to go to one scripture in particular here in the New Testament. Oh, and by the way, this Bible, shout out to Brother Jeremiah. All right. Because he's the one that put me on to this study Bible. This is a very, very good study from Thomas Nelson, the King James Study Bible. All right. Now, we understand some of your top biblical scholars, all right, they go off a little bit, but overall, all right, if it's your first time and you really want to enhance your understanding of the prophecies and stuff like that as you're reading and, watching the apostles live, the elders and stuff like that, I highly recommend it. All right. And as you can see here, it tells you actually how to read it. All right. Going into your cross-reference, which we call precepts. All right. As the scripture says in Isaiah the 28th chapter, precept must be upon precept. The maps are pretty cool. Highly recommend. And overall, this is how it actually looks. All right. With the cross-reference in the middle. So a lot of times it does you, good. So what I want to do is I want to turn your attention. Let's go to Matthew, the 18th chapter real quick. I'm going to show you guys something. Now, in the King James Bible, all right, there you see Matthew chapter 18. All right. One thing about this particular Bible, it actually gives you a rundown of certain history. All right. Depending on what chapter you're reading it from. But this is the reason why I say the King James is probably the best version to if you are going to purchase a actual Bible. Now, check this out right here. This is Matthew chapter 18 and verse 11. It says, "For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost." Okay. So when you understand choosing different Bibles, let's look up this same Bible, okay, in the NLT. And I've had this Bible for a little over about 9 to 10 years now. I haven't went into it much because back then I wasn't really in the truth like I am now. So still in good condition. Now, this is Matthew chapter 18. All right. So you can see right there, 18. You see at the top there, Matthew. Now, if we go and find verse 11, notice after 10 right there, you're not going to find a verse 11. You want to know why? Because they purposely took it out. They took out a lot of scriptures because when you jump to the New Testament, this is why it's important that you get the full 80 book volume. All right. Which comes with not only the standard King James Bible, but also the Apocrypha. OK, which the Apocrypha is the missing 14 books. So you add that to the rest of the 66 books. That gives you a total 80 books. OK, and this is just one little incident, I'm pointing out, and they did that on purpose. All right. They don't have verse 11 there. OK, because in actuality, when you go back and read it, it's telling you that the Messiah came back to save that which was lost. Right now, who was lost? Who was considered lost? Which nation? If we go to Matthew 15 chapter, and I believe verse 24 in the red letter, Matthew 15 and 24, "But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Okay, so the Israelites outside of the other 17 nations was considered sheep and they were considered lost. So in the I want to say around 1920s is when you had the word revision, to revise something. All right. Revision had came in, and then what they started doing was they started changing the definition of words. Then they started around let me see, just trying to get my calculations right. Anywhere from 1940s till around 1980s. All right. Before the early 2000s. Is when they started bringing out other translations like the American Standard Version and stuff like that, which if you go to look up these verses, you won't actually see them. OK, and the particular verse I'm talking about is like Matthew the 18th chapter, verse 11. So for those people that's coming in, I'll show you one more time. When you look in the King James Version, all right, Matthew 18:11, "For the Son of Man has come to save that which is lost." Right. Now they give the precept here, 18:11, Luke 9:56, John 3:17, which I already know that one. But let's go to Luke 9. What was that one again? Let me see. Luke. That was Luke 9:56. So let's go to Luke 9:56, and let's see. So Luke 9:56, which says, "For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them." All right. And, when a Christian reads men's lives, they take that out of context and thinking that that's actually talking about anybody who believes. But when you understand the context, going back to John the 11th chapter, all right, it's actually speaking about men of Israel. And to prove that, we can go to Acts Just to show you something real quick, Acts the 5th chapter, so we can figure out who those men are. This is why you have to study to show thyself approved, precept upon precept. So if we go Acts 5:30, we should all know this one right now. Acts 5:30, the Most High of our fathers raised up Yahushai, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. Him have the Most High exalted with his right. Actually, that's not even the one I want. Salakia. I want Acts the 2nd chapter. That's a better precept. Acts chapter 2. Yeah, here it is. Verse 21, and it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord, Yahushua HaMashiach, shall be saved. So who was those all men that he came to save? And Luke 9:56, it tells you in the very next verse, verse 22, ye men of Israel. See, hear these words. This is why precepts are very important. Okay, through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. All right. So even though the cross-reference, it'll give you some good precepts, sometimes this is why you have to study, because you can add other precepts in case if you out there, somebody try to catch you slipping, and they goes, oh, well, you know, Luke 9:56, brother, says that all men's lives can be. No, don't say that, because here's the precept. The men that it was referring to was the men of the nation of Israel. It wasn't talking about all men who believe, right? So just wanted to point it out. Now, dig this map right here, man. This is actually pretty cool. All right. So you have Cyrene. All right. And it tells you mentioned in Acts 2 and what's that? Acts 2nd, verses 9 through 11. All right. City with the Israelite community. All right. During the Roman Empire, 1st century AD. Now, the beloved elder apostle Ta'ar always tells us you need to get familiar with your maps. OK, see this area today. OK, when the British, going back in the 1800s, all right, when they were trying to get, which is further down here, but just giving you a scenario today, they would tell you that this region, all right, will be called the so-called Middle East, which is false, because when you look up, when you look up the ancient maps, this region right here is actually known as Western Asia Minor. OK, not Middle East. This is actually West Asian Minor. OK. And I got to keep stressing that, because you'll have a lot of people say when they speak about Yahushua HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ, they'll say things like, oh, it doesn't matter what his color was, or they'll say, oh, he was Middle Eastern. No, there's no such thing as Middle Eastern. OK, that was a social construct made up by the British by a man by the name of Alfred Thayer Mahan. OK, because he needed to find a route to get into East India. And so they ended up calling this region Middle East. But it's, when you look up the ancient map, all right, all it is here is a part of Asia Minor. This is just known as Western Asia Minor. OK, or another name would be Asiatic. Right. So just want to throw in that little golden nugget there. So moving on. So this book, this study book, all right, has when you go into it. Okay, so after the book of Revelation, you have things. Let me just move this up a little bit. Salaki, I got my phone charging, but just want to quickly. So you have index, all right, like, you know, if you want to look up things, or if you want to go look up different precepts and stuff like that. You know, for instance, like if you want to look up the law, all right, it gives you different precepts going into it. All right, Lazarus. All right, if you need to go into the parables and stuff like that. So the index is pretty cool. Also, you have parables of Hamashiach. So if you want to get into the parables, like if you don't want to waste any time and you want to hit the parables, go straight to the source. All right, you can cut to the chase, and it gives you an outline of all the deep, dark parables. All right, and then it gives you the chapters, the verses. All right, so that's pretty cool. Okay, if you want to focus on the miracles of Hamashiach Yahushai, okay, here's an outline list of all the miracles this man done. Now, the scriptures also says that Yahweh Shai, when he came on the scene, he done so many miracles that it couldn't be written down. All right. So there are things that Yahweh Shai done that it's not even written, man. All right. And there's a precept that talks about that. If one of you brothers can find that precept posted on the comment board. All right. You have prophecies of the Messiah fulfilled in Hamashiach. All right. Now, what it means fulfilled is talking about really Acts chapter 3, verse 18. All right. Which talks about he pretty much had to fulfill all the things that the prophet said he would have to suffer. All right. Now, this right here, so Akim, pay very close attention to this, because if you're dealing with any Torah only Israelites out here, this is your best friend right here. I'm going to say it again. If you're dealing with any Torah based only Israelites that don't believe in Yahweh Shai Mashiach, this right here is their kryptonite. Notice it says prophecies of the Messiah fulfilled in Hamashiach. So from here, prophetic scripture, okay, seed of a woman, okay, Galatians 4:4, but when the fullness of time was come, the Most High sent forth his son, made of a woman, made under the law, right? Then you have the seed of Abraham, all right, Genesis 12:3, okay, Matthew 1:1, the book of the generations, all right, which really is the records, the genealogy, gene mean house and of body, of Yahweh Shai Mashiach, the son of David. Why? Because he was actually King Solomon, and the son of Abraham. How was he the son of Abraham? Because you have something that's called regeneration, reincarnation, which proves that he was Isaac. And the precept to Matthew 1:1 is Galatians 3:16. All right, which proves that Yahweh Shai was indeed Isaac. All right. Let's see here. Then you have, let's go down. Yep. One of my favorites, Numbers 24:17. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob. When you get Revelation, what is it? The 21st chapter, it talks about that morning star. That's Yahweh Shai. Okay. Yahweh Shai was that star coming out of Jacob. Okay. And shall smite the corners of Moab and destroy all the children of Sheth. That has not happened yet. Okay. Your so-called Moabites today will be the, not so-called Moabites, but your Moabites today will be the so-called Chinese. All right. Matthew 1:2, Abraham begat Isaac. Isaac begat Jacob. Jacob begat Judas and his brethren. All right. 12 tribes. Okay. All right. And then you have, of course, Genesis 49:10. See, all of these precepts in the Old Testament, this is why it tells you in Psalms, the 40th chapter, he comes through the volume of the book. This is what it means by the volume of the book, because all the prophets from Moses, all right, all the way up until Malachi, they prophesied about his coming. All right. So like I said, this right here is only Torah Israelites kryptonite, man. All right. So if you have a copy of this book, all right, study these precepts. So if you deal with an only Torah Israelite, you can take them into the deepness of these precepts and ask them to break them down. Break these down. What does this mean? All right. And turn over. You got some more precepts. All right. Dealing with the with Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. All right. So it's all here, man. All right. And here's the one that Muslims, they take out of context. Deuteronomy 18:15. The Lord Yahweh thy power will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren. They will take Deuteronomy 18:15 and say that this was speaking of Muhammad. How can that be speaking of Muhammad? Well, Muhammad didn't come out of the line of Shem. Muhammad didn't come out of Isaac. Okay. Muhammad came out of Ishmael. All right. I remember almost a year ago. I don't know if Abaniah remembers, but we had that person that came on a comment board, or he came on a chat, and he tried to hit us with the Deuteronomy 18, and I took him right to this precept, Acts 3:20 and 22, and he shall send Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, which before was preached unto you. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, a prophet shall the Lord your power raise up unto you of your brethren like unto me. He shall hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you, showing you that Deuteronomy 18 and 15 was speaking of Yahweh Shah that was foretold to come. Wasn't talking about no damn Muhammad. All right. Like I said, this is only Torah Israelites kryptonite. All right. So, yeah, good one. Now, moving on with this book outside of this little index here, which you don't really need that. But you also have, where is it? All right, cool. Now, if you want to know locations, they have a section dedicated. They have a section, Salakia, dedicated to locations. All right, so you have, Armageddon or Babylon gives you the precepts. All right, bottomless pit. Okay, which pit means land. When you get Second Esdras chapter 5 and verse 23, if I'm not mistaken. All right. If you want to know what a pit is, that's the precept for what a pit is. Pit is referring to a piece of land. The Most High's throne, heaven, new earth, new Jerusalem. All right. Which heaven, for you Christians out there, you simple Christians that don't know anything. All right. You have 3 stages of heaven. You have heaven on earth. You have the heavens above, and then you have the third heaven, which is the realm of where the Heavenly Father Yahweh sits. So when it talks about a new heaven and a new earth, essentially when you go into the word new and break it down in the Greek, I forget the Greek word, but it's talking about everything to be refreshed. It's refreshed. It doesn't simply mean that it's actually new. It's just refreshed. All right. So let's go further. All right, moving on. So if you yeah, Khan. Yeah, that's a good point, Abinaya. So you have monies, weights, and measure. All right. So, if you want to know what was a talent, it gives you the equivalent today. Monetary value. That's a lot. 3,000 shekels, 6,000 bekas or becas, talent. Shekel. All right. Which is pretty cool. And so forth and so on, man. All right. Then you got the Persian coins. All right. The Greek coins. All right. Which is, pretty important when you're dealing with, money and stuff like that. And basically, it just gives you an overall rundown of what it is equivalent to what we use today. All right. Pretty self-explanatory. So, all right. Then you have over here, dry measures, liquid measures. All right. Then you have the Israelite calendar. All right. No such thing as Ish. All right. We should already know that by now. All right. So for any of you brothers that struggle on the months. All right. Now, this is in Yiddish. I got to find the one that's actually in the Lashon One Kadash so you can know the actual months. Lord's will, I can grab that. But for now, we'll just utilize what we have in front of us. All right. And yeah. Now, this is important over here because there was actually 12 hours in a day, not 24. All right. So back then, our forefathers, you had sunset to sunset. All right. So we should all know that from sunset to the next sunset equals 1 day. So the first watch, sunset, right, to 9 p.m. Second watch, 9 p.m. to midnight. Third watch, midnight to 3 a.m. And then the fourth watch, 3 a.m. to sunrise. And then you repeat that process all over again. All right. Very important. The tribe of Issachar, which would be your so-called Mexicans today, it tells you in 1 Chronicles, the 12th chapter, that they had the ability to tell the signs. All right. And this is what they did. They had the ability to tell the signs. So when they was out there looking up at the constellations and stuff, they was on their watch. All right. And if you go into some of the artifacts dealing with the Aztecs and the Mayans and stuff like that, all right, they did the same thing, which shows you that they are the people. But see, people don't understand that. It goes over their head because why? They don't go into secular history. They don't take the secular history. They don't cross-reference it to the actual prophecies in the scriptures. That's why they can't get nothing. That's why they don't understand nothing. You know? All right. Here's another good one. Prayers. All right. Prayers of the Bible. So this is a first for me, man. Ooh, this is pretty good. All right. So if you guys want to get into some prayers, all right, that our forefathers have done, all right, gives you a list of precepts. All right. So Daniel, he did a prayer for the Israelites. All right. Daniel 9, 3 to verse 19. He did a prayer for knowledge, for blessing, for help, guidance. So you can check out all of these precepts. Sorry, Daniel, the first one, the first two, but then David. And David got some good prayers, man. I love David prayer, especially Psalms 51. All right. Elijah too. Okay. Elijah has some prayers. Ezra. Okay. For the sins of the people. All right. Habakkuk. And a little side note too, when you actually get into these prayers of what the prophets did, it helps you to understand that much more the fear of the Lord, man, because you hear in their it's almost like you get a first person's view when you go into their prayers and you understand the fear that they had of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And this could actually help you to develop a more understanding of the Heavenly Father through his son, Yahweh Shai, what he requires out of us, man. You know, let's see here, some more references. Okay, and then you just got the annotations, which we can skip those. We don't really need that. All right, then you have, I'm guessing these are like words, all right, that you can look up. You know, the Strong's Concordance. So this is a concordance, I take it. All right, that's not bad. Doesn't give you the actual, it gives you the Strong's Concordance, but it doesn't give you the, or does it? Does it actually give you the definition? Oh, it does too. So you got praise, which is halal, all right? The verbal halal is a common Hebrew word for praise. There you go. All right, praise him, yep. So, and I think that's the Strong's number right there, 1984. I'm gonna have to look that up in my Strong's Concordance that we just bought. And see how they try to sneak that in there? It's not Yah, it's Yahweh. All right. See how they just see? Gotta be careful. Gots to be careful, man. Let me see what else they got. Okay. Moving on to the maps. World of the Patriarchs. So you have here, this is pretty cool. All right, once again, Western Asia Minor, not Middle East. Western Asia Minor. Get it correct. All right. So it tells you here, possible location of Sodom and Gomorrah around this area here. Possible location of biblical Ur of the Chaldees, where Abraham was taken. All right, where he was promised to be brought into the land. All right, known as Canaan. All right. This is the Exodus conquest of Canaan. So this is what it would have looked like, all right, when the Lord sent Moses to grab our forefathers out of Egypt, which is right over here, Ramesses. And then it gives you a visual aspect of the route that they would have took going into the wilderness before crossing over, which the wilderness would have been over here, I'm guessing. All right. Also here too as well, because that's a wilderness as well. So that's pretty cool. Then you have the land of the 12 tribes. It was split up. Okay. All right. And I think if you want to, I think it's Numbers, the 31st chapter onwards, where it goes into about the inheritance. All right. So as you can see, and this is going to happen again when you know, when we return back in our land, it's going to be divided up. But this time we're going to have Edom pertaining to Obadiah, 1 in 20 or 21. So we're going to take all of their land. All right, we're going to deal. Moab is going to go back to where they got. Ammon is going to go back. All right, because we're going to possess the other nations pertaining to Isaiah 14 and 2, Jeremiah 30 and 16, Revelation chapter 13 verses 9 and 10, Psalms chapter 149 verses 7 on down. The list goes on. I can give you precepts for days. All right. So we got Kingdom of David and Solomon. So this is how it looked during the reign of David and Solomon. And why is this important? Because we had a total of 80 years. All right. 40 years of peace between both men. And during the time of each man's reign, we had the nations under subjection. So we only had a total of 80 years peace. All right. Before we, went off the rail and became disobedient, breaking that first covenant. All right. So this is how everything was in order. All right. Over here, you have Yahweh Shai's ministry. OK, so it shows you certain places on where, like, for instance, where he turned water into wine. He was there in Galilee. All right. Spent his boyhood in Nazareth. All right. Did his sermon on the Mount. All right. So pretty cool. And having a visualization of what you're reading always helps as well. As the scripture says, where there's no visualization or where there is no imagination, the people perish. All right. So if you can't imagine something as you're reading it and stuff, what good is it? All right. You're not going to believe in it if you don't have faith. OK, now here's an outline of Apostle Paul's missionary. All right. So, this is where he journeyed. All right. Preaching the gospel to the Israelite foreigners that were called Gentiles. That's what he was set up to do. Right. And then so all of these areas from Galatia, the Galatians, Bithynia, Pontus. OK, all of these were where Israelites were dwelling. OK, they were living amongst the heathens. All right, keeping the oral tradition of the other heathen nations, hence why they were called Gentiles. That's why he said in 1 Corinthians, when he went to the church of Corinth, he said in 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2. Also Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, when he went to Ephesus. OK, he was only speaking to Israelite foreigners who didn't know that they were Israelites. This is why you had the circumcision, the actual Israelites who were considered Jews pertaining to the southern kingdom. That's why they had dispensations against Paul and Barnabas, because they looked at Paul and Barnabas like, why y'all trying to bring in these Israelites who were never keeping the customs? That's why when you read the book of Acts, it tells you in Acts 15 chapter that you had certain men from Judea that came down teaching and saying, except you be circumcised, you cannot be saved. So you got to ask yourself, with the scribes and Pharisees at that time, knowing the law, why would they go to actual heathens, telling them that they can get salvation except they be circumcised? Because it tells you in the law that even when you deal with Moab and Ammon, they cannot come into the congregation, even to the 10th generation. So that lets you know in the book of Acts that when that commission was set up, when Paul got knocked off the horse, when Yahweh Shai spoke to him, Yahweh Shai was telling him that you're going to go and you're going to be a light to those Gentiles, meaning to those other Israelite foreigners who were living in a Gentile state of mind. That's why he separated. That's why he set up Peter to speak to the Israelites who knew that they were Israelites, which represented the circumcision. And then he set up Apostle Paul, who also was an Israelite, from the tribe of Benjamin, to speak to those Israelites who were lost, who really didn't know that they was Israelites, man. That's what the whole New Testament is about. All right. And you have Jerusalem in the time of Yahweh Shai. All right. So that's how it looked. OK, which is pretty good. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. So that's pretty much on that book. And this is how it looks again. All right. The KJV, Thomas Nelson, the King James Study Bible. All right. Highly recommend it. Very good study tip. Along with that, what you need prior to having this book is you need the Apocrypha. And it needs to say this: authorized King James Version. All right. The Apocrypha itself All right. Translated out of the original tongues, meaning language. This is very important. Okay. Cambridge University Press, one of the best universities to ever do it. And in the order, all right, these are the canon books that they took out on purpose by a group by the name of the Biblical Destruction Group. And they were responsible in 1800s for removing these 14 books. And as you can see, you have First Esdras, Second Esdras, Tobit, Judith, the rest of Esther, Wisdom of Solomon, Ecclesiasticus, Baruch with the Epistle of Jeremiah, which is in Jeremiah chapter 36, the Song of the Three Holy Children, the History of Susanna, Bel and Dragon, the Prayer of Manasseh, First and Second Maccabees. These are the rest of the books that make up the full volume of the book. So with these 14 books joined in with the other 66 books, that gives you a total of 80 books. And no, notice you do not see Enoch, Jasher, Jubilees. Why? Because they are pseudepigrapha. They are falsely written books. They do not belong in the Bible. So any of you cats out there that's reading Enoch and all that, thinking that you on a level, no. Because as you can clearly see here, books called the Apocrypha, these were the ones that were canon that were taken out. This was in the Geneva Bible before the 1611. And then when the 1611 came around, same list. Nothing changed. It's only recently until you get to the late 1700s till about the 1800s when they incorporated books like Jasher, Jubilee, and Enoch. Now, don't get it twisted. Yes, Enoch prophesied. And yes, in the scriptures, it talks about a book called Jasher. However, the books that they sell to you or sell to the masses, those are not the books. They are pseudepigrapha, which means falsely written. Look it up yourself. Just look it up yourself. All right. So a lot of these books, with the exception of, I think it was Wisdom of Solomon and Ecclesiasticus, the rest of them were translated by the Greek. But the other 2 or 3 was actually translated directly from the original tongue, which was Hebrew. Right. So you have second book of Esdras, you have the book of Esther, which is this is a hell of a book right here, because this book alone tells you who the occasions of call is, that their line goes back to the Edomites. So all of you people that's saying the occasions of call go back to Japhet, nope, that's the reason why you need the Apocrypha, because this is the main reason why they took the Apocrypha out, so that you wouldn't be able to trace Esau today. That was the whole purpose of the Biblical Destruction Group. Their sole purpose was to get rid of these 14 books. Why? Because it tells too much of the end time. It exposes too much prophecy. That's what they don't, the Lord, set it up that way. That's why the Lord said in both the book of Deuteronomy and in Revelation, if anyone shall take away from the words of this book, the Lord shall take away them from out of the book of life, man. You have Wisdom of Solomon. All right. Very good book, Wisdom of Solomon. All right. Then you have Sirach, Ecclesiasticus. You want wisdom? Read the whole book of Ecclesiasticus, man. Read Proverbs and Ecclesiasticus, not Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiasticus. All right. You'll get your feelings hurt just reading the book of Ecclesiasticus on its own. There's so much wisdom in this book. All right. Very, very, very good book. A lot of wisdom on what to do and what not to do. All right. Friendships, relationships. Okay. Business, adventures. You name it, it's got it. All right. So that's pretty much it on the Apocrypha. All right. Need to make sure that it actually says authorized King James Version. All right. So I want to remove these 2. Now, another good one to get that I ended up getting. Shout out to the beloved elder Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone of Chicago. This is the Oxford, or the New Oxford annotated Bible with the Apocrypha. All right. Now, issue is, notice it says Revised Standard Version. What they don't tell you is anything that has the word revised, revision, okay, meaning that they took another look at it and that they gotten it up to modern times. So what ends up happening is when they go to translate the words, they use translation and then they use transliteration, which is two different things. Okay. And basically what happens is when something is translated, okay, a lot of times that word, it can be mistranslated. All right. Give you an example. When we come back, all right, because the prophets, they covered this. If we go to, let's go to Ecclesiasticus, and if we read over here, all right, let's read this little passage right here, Salakia, highlighted. It says, I'm going to start, I'll start right there. It says, wherefore, let me entreat you to read it. It's talking about the Holy Scriptures with favor and attention, and to pardon us wherein we may seem to come short of some words which we have labored to interpret. For the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue, meaning another language, have not the same force in them. Right. And I always use this example. If you go down to South America, you meet a man named Jose, and then you come back to the States, but then you don't call him Jose, you call him Josie. You think that Jose is going to answer to the name Josie? Nah. All right. That's what it means. The same things uttered in Hebrew, which is the original language that the scriptures was translated out of, but translated into another language, it doesn't have the same force in it. And that's why you can't read the Bible verbatim. That's why you got to revert sometimes back to the Hebrew or back to the Greek. OK, it says, but and not only these, but the law itself. In other words, when it goes from its original tongue and is translated, you lose the true meaning of what the law originally stated that you had to do. It says in the prophets and the rest of the books, case in point, Apostle Paul. When a lot of people, that's why Peter said what he said about some people come up short, or they're unlearned when they read Apostle Paul's epistles, because they think Apostle Paul was preaching to, actual heathens, telling them that they can be saved, when in actuality, he wasn't preaching to other nations. He was preaching to Israelite foreigners that were being rejected by the actual Israelites that kept the law. Once again, for the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another language have not the same force in them. That's why you have to go back into the Hebrew or the Greek. So dealing with this version, notice it says revised. So if you have a look, all right, let's see here. Yep. So you have the New Oxford Annotated Bible with the Apocrypha. And yep. So it gives you the number and the sequence of the books of the Bible. Right. So you have the law, 5 books written by Moses. You have the prophets, 8 books. Right. You have the writings. So Psalms, Proverbs, we should know all of that. Right. You got the New Testament. Then it says here, the books of the Bible and of the Apocrypha. All right. Because if you have the original 1611 King James Bible, all right, you'll have the Old Testament. The Apocrypha usually sits in the middle, and then you'll have the New Testament. Now, the only issue with this Bible is they've added extra pseudo pigrapha books, such as 3rd Maccabees and 4th Maccabees. Both 3rd and 4th Maccabees are what you call pseudo pigrapha, meaning they are falsely written attributed works. They do not belong in the scriptures. That's why I stated you need the authorized King James, because when you go into the actual table of contents, there was only 2 books of the Maccabees, Maccabees 1 and Maccabees 2. There is no such thing as a third and fourth Maccabees, because when you actually go into these books and read them, all right, you'll get bugged out because there's a lot of just crap in there. All right. Whoever the author was who written those books, when you read them, you'll automatically see it's going off automatically. Right. Let's go up here. No, they don't have it. But yeah, so you got that. Now, when you get into it, this is how it looks. So pretty simple, no cross references. However, at the bottom, they give you a little information of breaking down the Bible. Now, a lot of times they go off, so you just have to be careful. All right. Tried to trip me up a few times. This is the reason why you have to watch the apostles and learn the breakdown, so that when you come into Bibles like this, you don't get pretty much dumbfounded when you read the scholars' notes, because sometimes the scholars they give the correct information, but then a lot of times they go off on certain breakdowns. All right. See, like right here, you see how they told on themselves. They say the creation and the fall of men. Didn't say the fall of angels, because there's no such thing as fallen angels. It was actually speaking about us. We're the fall of man through Adam, the Israelites. But before they were called Israelites, they were known as the sons of God. Okay, through the lineage of Seth. It tells you that in Luke, the 3rd chapter. All right, so Esau, all right, you got to watch him. All right, sometimes he'll give you the truth, but then he'll tell you several lies just to cover that one truth, man. Unbelievable. Another little thing with this that I found out, if anybody had questions on it, be very careful when you get to the Apocrypha. For instance, when you get to 2nd Esdras, the 7th chapter, I believe, you have something called verses, the missing 71 verses. All right. So for those who don't know, because I already know somebody going to come and ask me, do we supposed to read the 71 misses verses of 2nd Esdras? The answer to that is no, because it's also pseudepigrapha. OK, they've added it in. And to give you an example, let me see if I can find it. Let me show you. Because they go off, talks about, if I can find it. Let's start at, let me see, make it easier for y'all. I might start, just want to get straight to the point, just so y'all can see. Joyce. Yeah, here it is right here. I'm going to start down here, though, for context. The 7th order. Now, watch. This is the reason why you don't read 2nd Esdras, the 70, I think it's called the 71 missing verses. It says the 7th order, which is greater than all that have been mentioned, because they shall rejoice with boldness and shall be confident without confusion and shall be glad without fear, for they hasten to behold the face of him whom they served in life and from whom they are to receive their reward when glorified. This is the order of the souls of the righteous, as henceforth is announced. And the aforesaid are the ways of torment, which those who would not give heed shall suffer hereafter. Right now, when you read down, all right, let me see if I can find it, because y'all going to be like, what the hell? Y'all going to be like, yeah, no, that's going off. And let me get to it. Because in the 70 missing verses, he speaks about those souls that didn't make it on this side going to hell, basically. But I'm just trying to find it. I haven't read it in a long time, but let me see. Yeah, nah, it's all good. It's somewhere in here. But basically, Esdras, he's having a conversation with the angel, and he's going into the 7 orders. And the last order, those souls that didn't make it, they supposed to burn in eternal hellfire, which goes off, because we know, Akim, that there's no such thing as hell. And according to Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, your body goes into the ground and your spirit goes back to the Most High who gave it. All right. See, that's the reason why you got to study, because you go and read the 70 missing verses, which is in this book. Then you're going to think that, oh, well, you know, there is a hell and stuff, when it's not. All right. It's not. So just if you grab this book, just be wary. If you know, when you start to go into Esdras, the 2nd chapter. All right. You know, you don't want to do that. 2nd Esdras 9 and 12 is not speaking on you burning in eternal hellfire. Right. Let's read it in the King James version, just to prove a point. All right. Because somebody will easily read that and then they'll think, see, didn't know, you don't understand the breakdown. 2nd Esdras chapter 9, verse 12. We'll start up a couple of verses. Start up, let's see here. Verse 9. Then shall they be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. All right. Now, what does the torments represent? Keep reading. For this torments goes in a line with, you have Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah 30 and 7. You have Sirach chapter 38, where it talks about those spirits that are created for vengeance. And you have Wisdom of Solomon, the 6th chapter, where it goes into apparitions, those evil angels. So that's the time that we're coming in now. This is not referring to your body going into hell and you burn it up in torment. That's a goddamn lie. This is why you have to study. Y'all don't study. That's your problem. You don't have no elders. You want to disrespect the elders, and then you wonder why you're only mid-level when it comes to this truth, man. Right? Verse 10, it says, for such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me, and they that have loathed my law. The word loathed is another way of saying to detest, meaning that you don't like something. While they had yet liberty. Liberty is another way of saying grace period. And when as yet place of repentance was open unto them, understood not, but despised it. And look, I put the precept there. 2nd Esdras chapter 8, verses 55 to 58. We're going to grab it. The same must know it after death by pain. And what is that? Proverbs 19 and 16. So let's go to 2nd Esdras 8, 55, right over here, which says what? And therefore ask thou no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish. For when they had taken liberty, they despised the Most High, thought scorn of his law, and forsook his ways. Moreover, they have trodden down his righteous, and said in their heart that there is no power, yea, and that knowing they must die. Because it tells you in 1 Peter 4 and 17, judgment must begin at the house of the Heavenly Father. And what is that ultimate judgment? Go to Psalms, the 72nd chapter, the 73rd chapter, I think it is, drinking the cup of his wrath. What's the cup of his wrath? Revelation. Let's go to it. See what it says in here. Let's go to Revelation, the 14th chapter. What's that wrath? This is, you got to put the precepts together. Revelation chapter 14, verse, actually, I skipped it. Verse 9. And another angel, a third, followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast in his image and receives that charagma, which is the RFID hip, on his forehead or in his hand, he also shall drink the wine of the Most High's wrath, poured unmixed into the cup of his anger, and he shall be tormented with fire, sulfur, in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. That's the torment. Because during the time when World War III hits, you're going to have those ICBM missiles hitting, but also the angels is going to be zapping people. Let's prove that. Let's get Second Esdras, the 13th chapter. What did Esdras saw? And remember, Esdras saw the vision, man. All right, that's the torment. You see what happens when you put the precepts together. See, you get a regular Christian, and they'll sit up there and read that what we read in Esdras, and they'll think that that's talking about you going to hell. No, that's talking about the destruction that's coming to Babylon the Great, which is America, man. Get it right. Let's start 2nd Esdras 13. This is when Esdras saw Yahweh Shai coming back, destroying people, the armies and stuff. Right? I'm going to start at verse 5. Just get to the point. It says, after this I looked, and behold, an innumerable multitude of men. This is talking about all those armies that's going to be over there in the valley of Jehoshaphat. All right? When World War III finally goes down. They were all gathered together from the four winds, meaning the four corners of the earth, of heaven, to make war against the man who came up out of the sea. Because it tells you in Isaiah the 47th chapter that he's not going to meet thee as a man. It tells you in Isaiah the 63rd chapter that he's coming back to a nation who's ruling the planet Earth, known as Esau, Edom. It says, and I looked, and behold, he carved out of himself a great mountain. This is parabolic talk for chariot, which you call today UFOs, and flew up upon it. The precept to this is Psalms chapter 104, verses 3 and 4. Read it your damn self. It says, and I tried to see the region or place from which the mountain was carved, but I could not. All right. We always reference this to the movie Independence Day with Will Smith. Remember the shot when he woke up in the morning, went outside his house, and he looked upon the skyline, the city view, and he saw that chariot. He couldn't see the end of it because what? It's the same thing what Esdras is saying here. You just have to comprehend what he's saying. After this, I looked, and behold, all who had gathered together against him to wage war with him were much afraid, yet dared to fight. Right. Because although when everybody is fighting in the midst of World War III, when Yahweh Shai comes back, when this so-called black man cracked the sky, it's going to scare the shit out of everybody. But the Lord going to put the spirit on them to fight. Why? Because it tells you in Exodus, the 15th chapter, verse 3, the Lord is a man of war. Yahweh loves to fight, man. It says, and behold, when he saw the onrush of the approaching multitude, he neither lifted up his hand nor held a spear or any weapon of war, but I saw only how he sent forth from his mouth, which is another parabolic talk for the chariots sending forth that laser beam, that fire. The same fire on Mount Sinai, all right, that struck down the tablets when it was writing the law into stone. This is the same thing that Ezra is witnessing in his vision. It says he sent forth from his mouth as it were a stream of fire. That's talking about those laser beams firing down from the chariot. This is parabolic talk, right? And from his lips a flaming breath, and from his tongue he shot forth a storm of sparks. All these were mingled together, the stream of fire, the flaming breath, and a great storm, and fell on the unrushing multitude, which was prepared to fight, and burned them all up. That's the anger of his indignation when it talks about in the presence of the holy ones and Revelation, the 14th chapter. This is the precept. Easy. Right? Very easy. All right. That's why the apostles always say, you got to be up under the elders. You got to study. Right. Let's see what else I wanted to show you guys in this book. If we got anything else. So you have the chronological tables of rulers. Right. When you deal with the Maccabees, you have the Seleucid dynasty. All right. Because remember, when Alexander the Great, remember, he only ruled for about 12 years. So it was passed down to his four generals. One of the generals was Seleucid. The other one was let me say that again. You had Ptolemy. You had Ptolemy, Cassandra, Lasomaeus, and the fourth one was that person right there. All right. So those was his four generals that ruled. And it's very important that you understand that. All right. That's in Daniel, the 7th chapter, and also the first Maccabees. Right. Then you have the house of the Maccabees, which is the Hasmonean dynasty. Okay. This began your Sadducees, Pharisees, and Essenes. This is where it started from. All right. Then you had the man right here, very important figure as well as him. But John Hyrcanus was the person responsible for forcing circumcision on Esau, Edom. That's why the people over there in the Holy Land that's calling themselves the people, it goes back to this man right here. That's where we messed up. If John Hyrcanus never would have forced them to keep the law, statutes, commandments and force circumcision upon them, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in today. So you can look him up. All right. I don't even think it tells you in here, but the Hellenistic period is very important because this is the reason why Apostle Paul was set up to speak to these Israelites during this time, the Hellenistic period, those Israelites under Antiochus. OK, this one right here, this Antiochus, he was the man responsible for forcing the Israelites to leave off of their heritage. And that's the reason why when you jump to the New Testament, that's what the New Testament is all about. These Israelites that were forced in to be Hellenized, to turn it, to keep the Greek customs. That's why Paul said there is neither Jew nor Greek, because the Greeks were Israelites, those who have been Hellenized. That's why when you go into the history of the Maccabees, which you got to go into, because in order for you to understand the New Testament, you got to know the history of the Maccabees. This is over 430 years of secular history that they don't teach you in the church house. That's why people can't get the New Testament. Right? That's why people can't get it. Your pastor's not going to sit here and go into the depths of the history of the Maccabees. He's not going to teach you about Judas Maccabees. He's not going to teach you about Eleazar, how Eleazar gave his life because they tried to force him to eat pork. And he told the guards that he rather be ensample to the children of Israel. So much so that they told him, OK, since you're not going to eat the swine, get whatever meat that's appropriate under your law, and just we want you to get your nation of people to act like you're keeping the king's commandment. And guess what he did? He rather be put to death, and that's what he did. But no, y'all still going around eating pork, shrimp. Y'all love that catfish, man. This is your history. This is your people, man. Go and read what Eleazar done. This is our people. Right? See what else you got here. You got this is pretty good. This is the titles given to the books associated with Ezra and Nehemiah. All right. So this is how they broke the versions down. So in the Old Testament, you have the book of Ezra. All right. But in the Greek Septuagint, you have Second Esdras. So when you read the Latin Vulgate versions, which is First Esdras is really Ezra from the Old Testament when you read it. Right. But then you have Second Esdras. All right. Which is written in Greek. All right. Then in the Latin Vulgate, they give you Third Esdras and Fourth Esdras. This is the one which really Third and Fourth Esdras is a part of Second Esdras. Right. But what they did was, instead of you reading all 16 chapters, they spread it out into books 3 and 4. All right. But they only did that in the Latin Vulgate. Now, for you, individuals out there that don't love to study because you want somebody to hold your hand and do the work for you, the fourth book of Esdras, which is the same as Second Esdras, both 3 and 4 combined. This is the book that Christopher Columbus, which his real name is Cristobal Colon, he is the man that was responsible for using the book of Esdras in the Apocrypha. All right. Before they took it out, that's how he knew to come over to the Americas to find the lost 10 tribes. And they tell you that in the movie 1492, because he knew when he arrived in South America, he knew, all right, the Taínos, all right, your Native Americans, The Mayans, the Aztecs, he knew that they were Israelites. That's why he took with him 5 Hebrew interpreters. And when you read his memoirs, they tell you, even his son even admitted the only reason he knew to go over to the Western Hemisphere, was because of people like Esdras. He read the book of Esdras, which is the 13th chapter. That's how he knew the other the Northern Kingdom really was over in the Americas already. That's why you got so-called black people today talking about something. We was already here. We the Aboriginals. No, you didn't come over to the Americas till around the time you left the Assyrian Empire under King Salmanassar. Up until then, nobody dwelt in that land, man. That's the 100% truth right there. We've already done lessons on it. And then it wasn't until the 1600s when they brought our brethren over, which is us, the Southern Kingdom, you so-called, African Americans, West Indies, Haitians. Okay. When we came over, we joined our brethren, the natives. And one tribe particular, you had the tribe of Reuben, which is today known as your Seminole Indians. When the so-called African Americans came over, when we was taken from what's known as Ghana today, but back then it was known as West Africa. All right, Waiada or Ouida, which is known as Kingdom of Judah, the slave coast, and what's today is known as Benin. Yeah, they don't tell you about that history. Y'all need to learn how to research things. When they took us from Benin and brought us over to the Americas, the Seminole Indians took us in. That's why you have a term called Black Seminole. Look it up. Black Seminole Indian. Because they recognize you so-called African Americans being the head tribe, which is the tribe of Judah, Yahweh. And so what the Seminole Indians did was they set up Judah to be head kings over them. That's why when you go into those wars down in Florida and everything, just look up what the Black Seminoles did to help the Reubenites, which are your Seminole Indians. Because we brethren, they already knew who we were. All right. So let's see here. All right, we got some more maps. And this was the land of Canaan. All right. Of Abraham to Moses. So that's how it looked. All right. Another little tip. We, the nation of Israel, we was given our inheritance last before the other 17 nations were given their inheritance. After. It tells you that in Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter. Those 17 nations, they were already set up with their inheritance. The nation of Israel were the last to be set up. All right. Okay, so Israel and Canaan. So that's when we was given our land. All right, as you see, Simeon down the bottom here. All right, Manasseh, which is your so-called Cubans today. Issachar, so-called Mexicans. All right. Then you have Zebulon, which is your Panamanians and Guatemalans today. All right. And how we know that is because when you go to Genesis, the 49th chapter, it tells you that Zebulon should be a haven of ships across the border from the Phoenicians. Now, the Phoenicians, which is Tyre and Zidon up here, their border is way up here, but Zebulon is right in the middle. So evidently, we know this ain't right. They're not there here. They're nowhere. They're nowhere near that border. So clearly this is talking about America, because when you look at South America, you look at the the Panama Canal, right? When you go into the history, they got those Olmec heads down there. And so when you read the prophecies of what will happen to the descendants of the 12 tribes in the last days, which we're currently in the last days, Zebulon will be dwelling. They will be a haven of ships. All right. For the Phoenicians. Now, during the time of King Solomon in 1 Kings, the 8th chapter, when he made the covenant with King of Tyre, which his name was, what was his name? Starts with an H. One of you brothers can put it on the comment board. I forget his name. But basically, When you read Ezekiel chapters 22 to 28, the king of Tyre, he used to send naval ships to the Americas. That's where you get the Olmec heads from. Those Olmec heads were Phoenicians. They were your Hamitic people. They were Hamites, which are your so-called Africans today. And so what they did was those statues, those big gigantic heads, they were pretty much used for navigation. So anytime they kept traveling, because it took them a year and a half to go from the Americas and then back to Israel, from Israel to the Americas, that's a year and a half. So tally that up. That's a total of 3 years. All right. And your top archaeologists, they proved that. I even got a website to prove that those Phoenician writings and stuff, those are Hamites, those are Olmec heads. But see, you got our people talking about something. See, they got, look at the nose. Now, would you would have had some Israelites within those Tyrus ships mixed in with the Phoenicians? Absolutely. Because remember, King Solomon was ruling during that time. All right, with the big flat noses and the big lips and stuff like that. So yeah, you had our people mingled in with those Hamites and stuff, but majority of those Phoenicians, because remember, they spoke the Hebrew as well. That's why it's called the Paleo-Phoenician Hebrew. And they got so many relics down in South America and Central America, relics found of writing in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. Okay. So hey man, the history is there. Everything you need to know is there. You just got to do your due diligence and look it up. See what else we got here. Okay. The United Monarchy. This was okay. Israel, Judah, Hebrew kingdoms. Okay, so this is going into the time of the kings. All right. And then you got, kingdoms of Israel and Judah. All right, going into that history. And then you got, what's this one? All right. And then for those people out there, America is the Egypt. No. See? Where you think they got Memphis? See, America, which is Babylon the Great, that's why it tells you in Revelation, the 11th chapter, spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Because they'll try, because you got certain Jakes that say America is the real Israel, it's the real Egypt. No, it's not. Learn your maps. All right, Jake Jake, man, Jake could just say any old damn thing. All right, so that's enough on that book. Now, one more Bible, which my wife and my beautiful daughters, they actually found this for me at a thrift store. This is called the Revised English Bible with the Apocrypha. All right, and I actually got this for free. 9 times out of 10, if you go to thrift stores, all right, you will be very, very lucky to find Bibles like this. And why? Because first of all, it's very, and this is from Oxford, Cambridge, so it's legit, right? But this is pretty cool because when you look at the table of contents, all right, you have the Old Testament, you have the from the Old Testament, and like I said, you have in the middle the Apocrypha. Okay, first, second books, Esdras, Tobit, Judith. All right, list goes on. Right, letter of Jeremiah, and you do not see no book of Enoch, Jasher, or Jubilee. Why is that? Because they are not canon. They are falsely written attributes. Notice how this table of contents matches exactly up with the authorized King James Version, which we looked up. No, how many times I got to keep saying it? Because our people love, the book of Enoch. No, we're not on no damn book of Enoch. It's pseudepigrapha. It's falsely written. Stop reading it. Anyway, you got the New Testament. Now, one thing I love about this particular version of this Bible is if you have a hard time, for instance, reading the King James Version as this old English, okay? this is where this comes in handy. Because when you go into, all right, like for instance, all right, the book of Ecclesiasticus, all right, you have modern up-to-date English. All right. So the English is a little bit is better, more easy on the eyes to read than reading the King James Bible. So this comes in handy. So sometimes if you read something in the old English and you can't really interpret what it's saying, then this is where this comes in, because you can just swap and then you can just reread it to see what it's actually talking about. All right. So nothing too fancy with this. This one is just a basic Bible that had a total of all 80 books. All right, the 14 books of the Apocrypha and the 66 books, both the Old and New Testament. All right, so that is it on that one. Now, let's get into books dealing with history. One of the first books you need to grab for yourself to help you with your studies is the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Reason why I got it is because when I first came into the truth, this is one of the very first definitions I've looked up. Ham, okay, which is one of the sons of Noah, says the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood, and he became the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, Canaanites. So guess what, you so-called African Americans? You're not Egyptians. So stop that damn Egyptology bull crap. Stop all of that nonsense dealing with the so-called black community, because your progenitor doesn't go back to Ham. You go to Shem. Two totally different entities. And this was written by your top biblical scholars. So guess what? They know something about you that you don't know about yourself. They know something about you that you don't know about yourself. Ham is the progenitor of the dark races. So everybody else outside of the so-called African Americans, okay, they go back to Ham, for the exception of the East Indians, because they go back to Elam, because they're a dark nation as well. But the majority of your dark nations that's over there in the continent of Africa today, they fall under the Egyptians, which is your Mizraims, Ethiopians, which is your Cushites, Libyans, which is North Africa, Canaanites, which today will be, I think they're mixed in with your South Africans. I got to check that. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, so, all right. But you so-called African Americans, your line doesn't go back to Ham. All right. I know. Sorry to disappoint you, because y'all really want to be on that Egyptology bullcrap. That's not your people. You don't stem out of that line. All right. So very good addition to have. All right. Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Now, one little thing, because I have been told this is the older copy. They came out with a new copy, and apparently the new copy, they've taken this definition out. They've taken it out, and I wonder why. So if you've already got a copy of this and you got the old one, consider yourself lucky. Because if you try to buy this now, the newer standard version, it has been said they've taken this definition out. All right. So just thought I'd let y'all know. Another book to add to your repertoire. We should all be familiar with this one. All right. This is from Rudolph R. Windsor, which is From Babylon to Timbuktu, a history of ancient so-called black races, including the black Hebrews. All right. I don't like using that word, because the word black really is a social construct that was made up in 1681 by the state of Virginia. All right. So all of your so-called white noblemen, bankers and stuff, basically what they did was they were trying to get the rest of the land of your brethren, all right, the Gadites, the so-called Native Americans, all right. And basically what happened was they didn't want to share the land with the Native Americans, so they took to Congress, made up this new act. They ended up separating a lighter people, calling them Caucasian or calling them the term white. And then they took our people, All right, and just called us black. So that was a byword and a proverb that was thrown on us going all the way back to 1681. That's really the year when, if you want to say for edification purposes, white supremacy really started. All right, you can just look that up. So very good book in history. This guy, he actually goes off a little bit. And TikTok, stop tripping, man. All right. I don't need nobody shutting my live down. I'm just giving out information. I'm not saying anything that's being rude or anything. So stop giving me warnings. This is for edification purposes. All right. Anyway, this is a very good book to have. Another book that you can add on is the from William Beeston, the Roman Empire, the Empire of the Edomite. Very, very good book. This is a tell-all-tale book, man. All right, to show you who the true people were during the ancient Roman Empire. All right, which is another book that they ended up raising the price on because this guy William Beeston, he told a lot of there's a lot of golden nuggets in this book. All right, but basically, for everybody that's saying that the Cajuns of Call are Japhet, when you read this book, that shuts that whole narrative down. Because they're not Japhet, they're Edomites, which goes back to the line of Shem. They're Shemites, not Japhites. All right. So another good book to have. All right. Now, before I get the other two books, I know a lot of y'all like to use the Blue Letter, but if you can, do yourselves a favor and purchase yourself a Strong's Concordance. All right. This is very, very important because we know the famine of the word is coming. And when the internet goes down, you're not going to be able to use the Blue Letter. You're not going to be able to look up words and stuff. So you need to get you a hard copy of a Strong's Concordance. All right. So if you take a look, this is a very big book. This actually just came today. But the way that it works is you will look up the actual word, and then it gives you the actual, actually, let's pick an easy one. Let's go to, just to show y'all something. Right. So let's look up so-called Jesus, right? Which his name is Yahawashi. So the way it would work, it'll give you your chapter and book. So Matthew 1 and 1, and then it'll give you the Strong's Concordance. Now we know the name Yahawashi, or as they have it here, Jesus, that was in the actual New Testament. So we know that this is going to be in a Greek. So what you would do is we have to go and find that word or that numbers, Salakia, not word, number. And the way you do it is up here. Notice how it says Hebrew, but we know it's in the Greek. So we got to go to the Greek. And we're looking for 2424, which should be Jesus in the Greek. Almost there. Okay. And 24 right here. So you have Jesus, which when you look up the word Jesus, as you see right there, goes back to Strong's G 2424, which is Jesus, which is Greek, which goes back to the Hebrew Strong's 3091. And if you go and look that up in the Hebrew, it'll say Yahawashi if you can read the Paleo Hebrew without the vowel points. All right. So this is very good. It comes in handy. All right. And I highly recommend you buy yourself a concordance because the Blue Letter, fellas, it's not going to be around forever. All right. And we know they planted this cyber attack. So you're not going to be able to use the Blue Letter. So if you can, invest in a hard copy Strong's Concordance. All right. Very, very good book. Highly recommend it. Last two books for the evening, and then I'm going to close out. You have a book called The Lost Tribes and Promised Lands from Ronald Sanders. All right. So for all those people talking about the so-called Native Americans and the so-called, Mexicans, how can they be Israelites? Read this book. This book cuts all of that mess out, man. You have so many scholars and stuff. This author, Ronald Sanders, done a very good job taking actual memoirs, letters written from cartographers and Frenchmen and you name it, he didn't done it. And a lot of the evidence that he grabbed is people writing down in their notes and journal, okay, going all the way back to the 1600s, as far as 1500s to be exact. These people recorded that when they came over to what was called at that time the New World, they were convinced that these were the lost 10 tribes, speaking of the Native Americans and the so-called Mexicans, your Aztecs, all of them. This book will cut any Christian pastor. This book right here alone, man. So much information in this book. All right. Even on Christopher Columbus. Right. When you go into just to show you. All right. You have the Catalan Atlas. But if you want to just get straight to the point, I say if you got this book, start at 74, enter Columbus. So you can get the true backstory on him because he was an actual Spaniard. All right. People think that he was Italian. No, he was an actual Spaniard. Going to the other 1492 and then Columbus's Golden World. And then they show you how when he came over to the Americas, he actually knew that he had found the Northern Kingdom. It tells you in this book, man. All right. Then read the Amadis of Mexico. OK. A lot of good information in here. Nothing but secular history, man. This is history covered up. OK. Once again, Lost Tribes, Promised Lands, The Origins of American Racism. Ronald Sanders. Add it. You need this in your collection. And for the last book, till the rest of them comes, highly recommend. Highly recommend. This is from Benjamin Freeman. Facts Are Facts. All right, a few of you brothers have this book, but I'm going to show you something. Reason why this book is important. Because Benjamin was a small hatter himself, but he goes in. Now, I've highlighted this little part right here. And I'm going to show you. He told, and when I say he spilled all the tea, he spilled it all. And this is just a little excerpt from this book. It says, during the lifetime of Yahushua, there was not a form of religious worship practiced in Judea or elsewhere in the known world which bore a name even remotely resembling the name of the political subdivision of the Roman Empire, i.e. Judaism from Judea. No cult or sect existed by such a name. So what is he actually saying here? He's saying that prior to when the Messiah was walking on the scene, there was no such thing as a religion. There was no such thing as Judaism. You want to know why? Let's get a precept and then we'll close out. Let's go to the Apocrypha. We're going to go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 17. And I'm going to get straight to the point. Verse 11, it says, besides this, he, meaning the Heavenly Father, gave them, the Israelites, knowledge and the law of life for an heritage, right? So it was never a religion, but more so it was an heritage for us. So back then when the Messiah came on the scene, okay, basically he was giving us our heritage back because pertaining to Jeremiah, the 17th chapter, we would discontinue from our heritage. So the law, statutes, and commandments is our heritage. It is not a religion. And this man, he tells a lot in this book. Not too many people, whether it be on podcasts, radio, TV shows, or whatever, they don't mention Benjamin Freeman. They hate him. Just look him up. Benjamin H. Freeman. Look him up. All right. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to close out. Those are the books that I just wanted to come on here and share for you guys to add to your repertoire. All right. And Strong's Concordance there. The Roman Empire, Empire of the Edomite, Babylon the Timbuktu, Bible Compact Dictionary. All of these will pretty much more than enough. Will get you started. Now, one little tip, last tip before I go. The most important thing that every brother and sincere sister should really focus on, scriptures. Learn the scriptures first before you dive into history. Because once you understand the scriptures, then you can understand the history. Because when you go into the history, guess what? It'll link up with the scriptures. But see, what people do is they'll jump to history and not know what's going on. And then once they try to go into the scriptures, they bug themselves out because they don't know how to cross-reference. But when you learn the breakdowns and you learn the scriptures, then once you go into the secular history, go into the books, the scriptures will come more to life. Because you'll be able to take secular history and cross-reference it with the prophecies. Okay? So hopefully that was edifying. It'll be morning there. It's evening here where I am. So I want to say, call Halayimla, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakwadash. Once again, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Lord's will, this live was edifying. Hopefully you brothers got some screenshots so that you can go and purchase these books. But like I said, very good books to have in your repertoire. All right. And I can't stress enough, like I said, Esau, he's going to bring that cyber attack. So if you can purchase one, get yourself a Strong's Concordance, because the blue letter is not going to be around forever. All right. I have the once that book arrive, I'll be doing a live on it. I got the Ben Yehudi Hebrew to English on its way. All right. And that's a very good addition to have, too, because it has certain Hebrew words. All right. That you can go into to get the real, breakdown and understanding of certain Hebrew words that you really can't get in other books. So Lord's will, when that comes, I can be able to go into that a little bit so you brothers and sisters can see. All right. So I'm going to end it off there. I want to say the water and Lord's will. You see you on the next side. Shalom.